Hey guys, Merry Christmas and welcome to the Everyday Leader podcast. Today, Matt, Drew, and we're going to do a Christmas special talking about our focal points going into the holidays, some of the different activities we do together as a family, and just share our experience and knowledge on what may work and help you and yours. So stick around. Love to have you. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the Everyday Leader podcast. Leadership is a choice. Join me, Matt, and my co-hosts Drew and Tate each episode as we break down how to lead powerfully in your family, team, and organization.
Hey, welcome to the Everyday Leader podcast. Today we're super excited. We're going to have kind of a Christmas special episode. I've got Matt and Drew here with me, and we're just going to talk about our different focal points going into Christmas. What are we focused on? What are we believing in? And kind of how that shapes and affects our lives every day.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. We're excited to jam today about this. I'm glad you're listening.
Merry Christmas. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm not wearing, as Tate thought, I don't know what you call it, a work vest. It's my Grinch ugly sweater. So I should have sent it to Matt because he's not wearing any Christmas stuff. So maybe he's the Grinch of the episode.
I guess I'm the Grinch of the group.
I still think that would pass on a job site.
Probably would. But yeah, no, I'm excited just to talk on this topic. I don't know. I don't think we've talked much about this outside of our podcast. And like Christmas really is my favorite time of year. I love this time of year. I love the season. I love what it helps me reflect on and think about. I love having the chance to look inward and am I giving? So yeah, really excited to just talk a little bit about leadership and how it relates to Christmas.
So how do you guys feel, or what are your thoughts about, how so many of us go into the holidays, we go through Thanksgiving and we focus on being grateful and all these things that I think are super important and always a good time to stop and reflect. But what about the way we spend the rest of our time, the rest of the year, the other 10, 11 months?
Yeah, well, I think that what Drew was just describing is an interesting thing to look at, right? That one of the reasons why the season of Christmas is a great time of year is because many people across the world and across our country shift their focus, even if it's ever so slightly. And I believe as a whole, we are more aware of what we're grateful for, right, around Thanksgiving. That kind of preps us. And then we're thinking about giving more and looking to surprise people with gifts or give gifts. We're thinking about spending time with family or having parties with friends. All those little things, that's a shift in our focus. And so it creates something. And I think that's what a lot of us feel around this time of year is that shift in focus. So to your question, Tate, the reality is we could technically do that all year. And I think many people do. And not to say that we can't still have a special time with a special focus, right? Mm-hmm. The underlying principle stays the whole year, though, which is if you want to find more joy and peace, if you find that this time of year, which I hope you do, you can create that by what you focus on throughout the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess for me, I just think back of growing up in years past, and the holidays seem like a different time. The focus really does change. And I think that's, I don't want to say normal, but typical or not. I think it happens a lot for a lot of people. And I think, there's a lot of value in trying to stay present, stay focused, the rest of the year and not have this major shift. And to your point, Matt, I think it's good to maybe shift the focus slightly, but I think when we get way off and the pendulum swings, I think we're wasting maybe a lot of time the rest of the year where we could, things
I
should
think,
be.
I think it's something to look inward. If the only time of year you give, or the only time of year you think about your family, the only time of year you feel this difference in your life, it's like, hey, that might be an opportunity to reflect and change the focus of your life a little bit.
And just to clarify, it's not so much like, hey, those are the things you think about in those moments. But I know for me personally, there's a little more emphasis on showing up and having the dinners and being present with your family and, spending the time together. And I think it's great that as a society, we kind of have those, grounded corner posts. Because if we didn't have those, when we would do it, or maybe it would be easier because you would kind of sprinkle it throughout the year. I'm not sure, but um, it's like, how easy would it be to get together more regularly throughout the year and have those dinners, have those conversations, have um, those just genuine interactions.
Yeah. Just so that the listener doesn't gloss over this, like what we're saying is actually really profound from the standpoint of it's not the Christmas season that creates what you're feeling. It's you. And so, yeah, the Christmas season provides opportunities around you to maybe embrace it more easily. And the reality is you can create that anytime by what you choose to focus on. And that's really cool. That's why, it doesn't really matter what time of year or what's going on. You can choose to have a great day. You can choose to have a great week. You can choose to have a great month. You can choose to be close to your family, because it has nothing to do with the external circumstances and everything to do with what you choose to focus on.
How do you guys, or what are your thoughts on, the differences in family dynamics? And, there's a lot of families that kind of live for the holidays and, it's a major thing. And there's other families where maybe even if they are getting all together, there's a lot of anxiety or pressure that goes into that. And, just what are your thoughts?
Yeah. What comes to my mind is I want people to do what they want. And that's obviously, that sounds really silly almost. And what I'm saying is that I believe that there are a lot of people who embrace certain things at Christmas time because they think they should, or they think they're supposed to, or they think they have to in order to XYZ. And that's just not true. Right? It provides a great opportunity to do certain things and create magical experiences, and that's great. And I hope that no one engages in those things with their family or with their church or with their community because they think they should, or because they think they have to, just because that's what society has created. And so my response to that is do what you want. If you don't find the joy in planning that family dinner, if it's like maximum stress or overwhelm, say no to it, or choose to do it in a way that works for you. That would be what I would encourage for everyone is, don't do things during the Christmas season or any time of year because you think you should. Do the things that you really want to do. And even if they're challenging or do present some challenges, you can still choose them powerfully and have a great experience that is completely in your control.
And to just go off that, it's like, what is the focus once again? Like, what are you focusing on? The things you want come Christmas time. If you want to have the crazy big gathering dinner and all that comes with that, great. And if you want it to be simple and you want it to be something else, I just love that idea, Matt, to choose that. And I think I think one challenge you can find around the holidays is, or just around tradition, and that feeling that, hey, it's always been done this way in our family or with my in-laws or however, and that can present some challenges. And yeah, I think it's just, one way you can be a leader is focus on, hey, creating an environment or traditions for your own family, for your own children around, hey, these are the things we want to focus on this time of year. So I got a question for you guys. What are some of the traditions that you grew up with around Christmas time? And what are some traditions maybe you're looking to create for your children now?
Yeah, I can go first. A couple that come to my mind are Christmas caroling, which we have not done that in our family, and I anticipate we probably will as our kids get older because we do like to sing. But that was always a big one, going around to different neighbors and Christmas caroling, delivering goodies, and I've always really believed and still do that the power of music is very real. Like that music stirs something up in people, and so I look forward to implementing that one in our own family. We always had a finger food feast on Christmas Eve, which was fun, and we still do when we get together as an extended family. Um, some of the traditions that we have now are we strive to find a family, either locally or not, that our kids can get involved in supporting around Christmas time, and that's been really cool. Last year it was a local family, and we actually like went to Walmart and got stuff, picked it out. This year we actually had the cool opportunity to do that for a family that was impacted by the hurricane, and so it was all online. So we did online shopping for this family, and then it delivered directly to them. So that's a cool tradition that our kids look forward to, and that helps us focus on giving instead of receiving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, growing up, I guess the way I would describe it, and I'm sure everybody's is a little different, but very traditional. I mean, we would Christmas Eve, we just kind of hung out and maybe open some present, a present the night before. And then the next day we would get up and open presents and have dinner. And that was pretty Christmas. It was nothing real specific as far as like things we did every single year outside just the traditional things. And looking at my current situation, my family, my kids, last few years we involved them kind of like Matt does in picking out gifts for toy drives and stuff. And it's been really fun to involve the kids in that and like have them go and drop them off and those kind of things. The other thing we've done a lot of is driving around as a family, looking at Christmas lights, those types of things, and really enjoy those. It gives us time, and got to make sure that you stay in the moment and just enjoy your family.
Yeah. One other one that comes to mind is we always set up several nativities. We kind of have a collection from different family members or different places we've gone, and that's one of the cool ways that we strive to keep Jesus at the center of Christmas is through the nativities. It's always like the kid's favorite part is like, where's the baby Jesus in the nativity? And not so much just him as a person, but his light and his life, his example, his love, and trying to keep that present for the whole season. And then like we were talking about earlier, not letting that go away at the end of Christmas, right? And it is an extra special time to celebrate his birth. However, yeah, we can certainly keep that focus on his light and his love and his example throughout the whole year. But that's one other tradition that we like to implement.
Yeah. A couple we had growing up. I mean, this is something I think a lot of families do, reading the Christmas story from the New Testament, Christmas Eve. We like to eat Mexican food. We like to, on Christmas, I don't know why, but it was like, that was something my family did. And my dad was, this was less of a family thing, but a tradition that I really loved. My dad was a teacher, a seminary teacher for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we would pick a family as a class, our seminary class, and go, bring a bunch of gifts and kind of secret Santa at one night, knock on someone's door and run off. And cool to see somebody come out and their reaction to that. We do 12 days at Christmas as a family where we'd pick people and we'd drop off goodies for 12 nights. And we were terrible at that. We would always they'd catch us every time, us kids doing that. But some of the traditions we're looking to create for our kids my wife and I decided a couple of years ago, sorry guys, that we were tired of giving our kids stuff, and we decided we want to have experiences. So we've been taking our kids on a vacation every year. We just happened to go on a cruise is what we've been doing the last few years, and we'd rather have some memories around the season than some toys that break 6 months later. And so that's one thing we're trying to create. And I guess one other tradition I have, we watch a lot of Christmas movies this time of year. My favorite Christmas movie, and some people don't even would argue with me that it's not a Christmas movie, is It's a Wonderful Life. Like, I can't go through the Christmas season and not watch that movie. And I think there's just so many powerful lessons about Christmas and leadership. Like, you don't realize the impact you can have on other people by giving. And yeah, like, that's the one that gets me teary-eyed every year.
Yeah,
That's
it is a
awesome.
classic for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes to become a tradition, but the last I don't know if it's going to be 4 or 5 years this year. The day after Christmas, we load up and head to Phoenix to go to a livestock show. So
Part of
Tradition.
yeah. So
yeah. Well, so I thinking even about the movie It's a Wonderful Life. If you've never seen it, highly recommend that you watch it. It's the way it ends is just a really beautiful ending, and it takes you through quite the not so pretty part of life and story. And but one of the things that I always feel at the end of that movie is like this profound gratitude that George Bailey has for his family and his community, and how many people actually cherish him, and and how much he truly has to be grateful for. And I really do think it's cool that Thanksgiving sets us up in that regard, where it kind of shifts our focus, like we were mentioning earlier, to being grateful. And I think that carries into the Christmas season. And so for you as a leader in your home, in your organization, I invite you to model gratitude. It isn't impossible to feel a lot of less powerful emotions when you're choosing gratitude. It's really difficult to feel fear and scarcity and frustration when you're sitting in and expressing gratitude. So it's one of the most powerful things you can do as a leader, not just this time of year, but always, is to sit in gratitude. And so some of you listening may think, I don't have much to be grateful for, or maybe you have some serious challenges going on that have been presented to you. And so, not to diminish those, and to challenge you to still look for what you can be grateful for, because your ability to handle those challenges will be increased as you are willing to focus on what you have and what you're grateful for. So I know that can be hard sometimes when things are kind of coming at you, or when it's easy to see what you don't have or what you wish you had. And gratitude is a powerful antidote for that.
it's funny. I was actually reading a book last night, and he was telling a story and was talking about a study they did on genuinely positive people. People, always see the good, and just versus kind of the opposite of that. And they did a test on them where they gave them like 2 or 3 pages, and they had to count how many of this certain image was on each page. Well, when they got to the second page, there was this huge ad that says, "Stop counting, there's 42 images total." And the people that were inherently positive saw the ad, stopped counting, put it away, said the answer is 42. Well, everyone else kept counting. A lot of times didn't even get the answer right, struggled through it. And it was just kind of a cool illustration of kind of what you're talking about, is being positive, looking for those opportunities, looking for those good things in your life, keeping your eyes open instead of so focused and drilled in on maybe the things that aren't going well. And
Yeah, it is powerful. And again, I don't want to diminish that many people have serious challenges. And that actually makes me think of something else that we were jamming on a little bit earlier, which is the Stockdale paradox. So in the book Good to Great, which I highly recommend if you have not read it to give it a read, Jim Collins talks about the Stockdale paradox, which came from the story of Admiral Stockdale, who was a prisoner of war in Vietnam for 7.5 years. And he talked about how every day he was able to maintain a serious level of faith and belief that he would prevail in the end and be reunited with his wife. And every day he was also willing to confront the reality of his brutal circumstance. And I think that that can be really hard to hold both of those. And it's actually a really powerful leadership trait to be able to hold both of something, like two things that seemingly don't go together. And so, like what Tate's saying, being willing to look for what's positive and what is possible, right? And have faith that like things can work out.
Or
And
potentially even right in
recognizing,
front of you
yeah,
if you keep your eyes open.
right.
And
And it's okay to recognize and acknowledge that you're having a difficult time, or that you're having that there is a circumstance that's particularly challenging for you. And the powerful thing about the faith part and looking for the positivity and the gratitude is that you get to decide how you respond to those challenges, how you respond to that current state of reality. And so I I believe that all of us can implement that. Like we can look at and acknowledge the things that are challenging and that are hard, and have faith that we will prevail and do the work to shift the way we see those circumstances.
Yeah, what advice would you guys give if we have a listener that's, hey, I'm Christmas isn't a great time. I don't have a family support. My life is hard right now. I don't have the money to buy the presents I'd like to for my kids. Like, what would you guys say? Someone's in that, like where Christmas is maybe bringing feelings of despair instead of like peace and love.
yeah, almost going the other direction. I think we touched on a little bit of it earlier, and that's what are we focusing on? What are we, almost what are we telling ourselves? How are we talking to ourselves? What are we believing? And I think it's so easy, especially this time of year, and honestly throughout the year, to compare ourselves to what the neighbors are doing or what a family member is able to do, and it's just not necessary because it doesn't matter. We can all show up the best we can and stay focused on the things that are truly important to us, and the things as much as just being together is truly a blessing, and enjoying that time. And I know that's easier said than done. I realize that. There's a ton of really bad circumstances out there, and not to take away or discount that. You can acknowledge that. You can say it is what it is, and I want things to be different in the future. And I think it's good to work towards that, acknowledge it, and also realize that that doesn't have to change the way you show up today in a bad sense. It can change the way you show up today as far as, man, I'm going to be grateful, the gratitude. I'm going to, be present. I'm going to go find those things that are the light. And even if it's as simple as, Matt touched on the religious aspect of Christmas earlier, the fact that Jesus Christ gives us hope throughout the year, something that, the plan of salvation and his birth. And, if nothing else, like that's something to grab onto, in my opinion, and it works for me and a lot of other people.
Yeah. Look, it can feel overwhelming for sure. And sometimes it can seem like there's a lot to do or to change or to overcome. And that can feel heavy. And there is a lot to do. There's a lot that you could do, that you can shift. And first, before all of that, you'll believe. You'll choose to believe that you're worth what Jesus came to give you. You'll choose to believe that whatever you want is possible. You'll choose to believe that you can get through to the other side of whatever is the most confronting challenge and difficult challenge for you right now. And look, no one can take that away from you. No one can also, like, no one can choose that for you. So reflect on that and ask yourself, what am I choosing to believe? Because your belief drives everything else. Your thoughts, your thought patterns, your actions that you take or the actions you don't take, and ultimately the way you experience your life. So there's a lot to consider. And first, you'll choose to believe that you're worth it, and you'll choose to believe that it's possible, whatever it is that you want.
So it's weird, after Josh's event, a lot of the speakers focused on, just the aspect of acknowledging and accepting that, man, I'm a son of God, and how powerful that was for them to just truly like set in that space and being like, man, if I'm a son of God, like, why am I so hard on myself? And it was weird. I almost took it another step from there for my own realization. And it's like, man, if I'm a son of God and Jesus is a son of God, does that make me his brother? And if I'm Jesus' brother, like, what does that mean? Like, that's pretty powerful. And, kind of just a different, interesting way of looking at it. And for some reason, it resonated with me in the moment. And so.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, he chose to come, just like,
Yeah.
what we're talking about, choosing. He chose, and that's powerful. That's why it is so powerful.
Yeah.
Drew, what would you say to your own question?
Yeah, great question to turn it back on me. I think similar to what you guys have said, what is the focus of your life? And often I have found for myself, when I am focused on myself, I am not as happy than as if I go out and I'm focused on others. And if you want to get out of feelings of despair, feelings of discomfort, it's like, go find someone else who's in a worse situation than you. Go love them. Go serve them. Even if it's like times are tough financially and you don't have the money to buy your kids, like, buy the presents you want for your kids for Christmas, it's like you can still create something special for them during the holidays by putting your focus on your children, by putting the focus on your family, your focus on Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're not a Christian or you don't believe in Jesus Christ, putting your focus on something bigger than you or bigger than yourself. And I've just found as I do that, whether it's Christmas time or different times of year, when I'm unhappy, it's usually because I'm worried too much about me and not worried enough about others. And so I think just shifting that focus to how can I go serve and bless somebody else can really, it's just crazy how much happier you are when you do that, because I think logic would tell you it's the opposite. Logic would tell you, oh, if I'm not happy, I need to take care of me, which, like, there's some truth to that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you need to take care of yourself. And there's just way more happiness that comes when your ultimate focus at the end of the day isn't on yourself.
Yeah. It's definitely a paradox for sure, right? Like, it's another paradox of, if we're willing to take care of ourselves and get ourselves to a powerful state, then we can go serve, to your point, Drew, with our overflow, with like our abundance. Whereas it can be easy to also get depleted and more difficult to go serve others. But yeah, that what you're talking about is so powerful. And for you that's listening, go try this. It's wild how getting outside yourself and going to serve someone else is so rewarding and so fulfilling.
I can't remember where the quote came from, and it's a fairly common one, but I saw it again the other day, and it's basically, what's the quickest way to get what you want? And it's to help someone else get what they want.
Was that on Matt's blog?
I think
Might
you
have
read
been.
that in my article, bro.
Did it?
That's how big of an impact you're having, Matt.
Yeah, look at you, Matt. Hey, that's how you know I read it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm sure it was somewhere else too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that idea is obviously not like mine, and I recently did write about it.
But it's so fitting, with the conversation we're having, and just that focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I would say to kind of wrap this up, take a look at what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you don't have or wish you had, or like what's scarce in your life right now? Or are you willing to focus on what you're grateful for and what you are glad to be engaged in and in what you want, right? Like focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want. And then are you believing things that are true? And or even what are you believing in general, right? Take a look at that. What do you believe? And recognize that your beliefs are what drive you to your thought patterns and to your actions or inaction. And
I
no, I was just gonna say, and then also it's okay to confront and to hold hard things and things that you recognize are not what you want. So acknowledge that and then focus on what you do want. Hey, go ahead, Drew.
As we've been talking, a couple of quotes have come to mind. And I'm going to probably butcher how you pronounce this guy's name. Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
I think you nailed it the first time.
Bonhoeffer. He was a German Lutheran pastor. He was a prisoner of war, I think, during the World War, Nazi Germany, and really in the worst circumstances, being in those prison camps. And just a couple quotes that came while he was in prison, and letters I think he wrote to family that I thought are just a good example of like your circumstances don't necessarily dictate your happiness or your focus. And one of them, let's see right here. We must follow Christ with every ounce of our being in every moment and every part of our life. Christ must be brought into every square inch of the world and its culture. One's faith must be shining and bright and pure and robust. And this other one I really like. I can no longer condemn or hate a brother for whom I pray, no matter how much trouble he causes me. His face that hitherto may have been strange and intolerable to me is transformed in intercession into the countenance of a brother for whom Christ died, the face of a forgiven sinner. There's a lot more of good stuff that he has, and I just think, man, to be in those circumstances, but to have your focus on Christ. And once again, if someone's not a Christian, it could be something bigger than you. And I think that's just the power of this season of putting our focus there. Okay. To be happy in those circumstances, or to be able to say, you could feel that way about a prison guard who's probably abusing you and beating you, is like pretty miraculous, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the power within all of us, that the choice is always yours.
I think this was awesome, guys. Just being able to have this conversation with the two of you and share some thoughts around, what this season means, and maybe help a listener through this month, through this time, shift their focus, or just even acknowledge that we're blessed. And so,
yeah,
awesome.
Merry Christmas. And look, today's the day. The choice is yours today to decide how you want to have your focus. And that's up to you.
Yep. Merry Christmas, guys. Happy holidays and Happy New Year to our listeners.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Thanks for joining us on the Everyday Leader podcast. If you're ready to take your leadership journey even further, subscribe to our weekly newsletter for more insights and practical tips. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram to stay a part of our growing community. Just follow the links in the show notes. If this episode impacted you, please help us spread the word and share the link with a friend from wherever you're listening.